Hey, thanks for joining me for this episode of Fretonomics. We're going to be talking about modal interchange, modal mixture, how to get chords from outside the key into your compositions, how it all works using the guitar. I'm going to post a big diagram later on in this that shows you all these possibilities, so make sure you stick around for that. But before I do that, I'm going to try and explain the thinking behind this as best as I can in the shortest amount of time I can. So the way it's going to work, I'm going to not use all the mode names at first, and then I will bring the mode names into it. But it does require, modal mixture does require a good understanding of all the chords in the key, in any key, in the major key. So what that would be is if I'm in G, I need to think of my chords as one. I'm going to use seventh chords here, but you could think triads or anything, but we're going to use seventh chords for this whole example. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Right now, I really want to think of them as numbers. So if I'm thinking 4, I know 3 is behind it, 2, 1, 5, 6. The reason being, I want to see like major for 1, minor for 2, minor for 3, major for 4, dominant for 5, minor for 6, half diminished for 7, back to my 1 chord, because that's going to come into play when I think of modal mixture. So when we get into modal mixture, basically we're starting to break some rules. And when I say break rules, I always just think of diatonic harmony. So diatonic harmony is what I just did. All the chords in the key, the exact right chord that should be in that spot in the key. What modal mixture is you want to start to imagine these parallel keys. So while I'm in G, and G is my 1 chord, I also want to think of G as my 2 chord and all the chords from then on. So that would be like G being 2. Then I'd have my 3, my 4, and so on. 5, 6, 7, 1, back to 2. Or as 3. So I'd have my 3, my G is my 3. 5, that way. Okay, now, if I can do that for all 7 keys, that's essentially going to give me, instead of 7 chord options, I now have, what's 7 times 7? What's that, 49? 40, let's just say 49. I'm probably wrong. My maths is terrible. We have that many options for chords now instead of 7. Now, yes, they're going to be weird and different, but because they all kind of consider G still as the tonal center, I'm just thinking of G as 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. It means that it feels like this kind of drift away and then pull back in. Right? So an example would be, if I think of G as 1, I would have my G here. But then if I think of G as 2, I can think 2, 3, 4, I have this B flat chord, so I could go from my G as 1. Think of G as 2, but go to the 4. Think of G as 6, so 6 here, and I'm going 6, 7, 1, up to my 4. So I'm going G as my 1 chord, then I'm thinking of it as 2 and going to the 4. Then I'm thinking of it as 6 and going to the 4. Then I'm thinking of it as 3 and going to the 4. Back to my 1. Now, that's a kind of confusing way of think of it as this, and then think of this chord, and then think of it as this and this chord. The way we actually do it is we call it what it is relative to G. So if I'm playing G as a major 7, and then I go to this chord, which I borrowed from my 2, thinking of G as 2, I would call it a flat 3 major 7, because I'm thinking 1, 2, flat 3. Then when I go to this chord, I'm thinking of that as 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6. And then my last chord there was a flat 2 chord. Yeah, but where I got it from was thinking of G as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 all at the same time. Now, right now, in this thing, I will pop up the diagram that shows you all of these options for chords. So in the diagram, you'll see Ionian, which is our major scale, and its 7 chords. Underneath it, you'll see Dorian, which is what I said of thinking of G as 2 now instead of G as 1. And we have its set of chords. Now, the way it will be called won't be 2. Even though we're thinking of it, it's still G is 1. G is 1. That's why you will see in Dorian, it will say 1 minor 7, 2 minor 7, flat 3 major 7. Now that's the confusing part. So if you can get your head around that part of it, then this will all be easy, but that takes a little bit of work. So it's a kind of mix of information here. You're thinking of G as 2, which is the Dorian mode, but we're going to call it 1, but all the chords were as if it were 2. Then when we do the Phrygian, it's the same thing. We think of G as the 3, but we're going to call it the 1, but it's going to be all the chords as if it were 3, which is why it has a minor 7 and straight away to a flat 2 major 7, flat 3 dominant, 4 minor 7, 5 half diminished, and so on. So we get all these cool extra things that we can do now. We could grab from different points, we could jump around any of these, but the important thing is that whatever choice you make, you do have to move the mode with it. So an example, right? I'll do the one that I was just doing, where I'm going flat 3, so that's from the Dorian, flat 6, that's from the Aeolian, flat 2, that's from the Phrygian, so I'll just record that. So up to my flat 3, flat 6, flat 2, back to my 1. In there, but you get the idea that I'm matching each weird chord that's popping up with the mode that's fitting in. That is essentially what modal mixture is. So you could have like whole sections of songs that are diatonic, hits, you essentially have to play the mode that fits that chord change. The only thing I will say is we got to then appropriate this to extra scales as well. So some chord changes within a lot of music come from this thing called secondary dominant, which I talked about in my other video, which will actually be borrowing not only from your other modes, but borrowing from your melodic minor and your harmonic minor. For example, the one I did there, that could be thought of as like a Mixolydian, or I can think of it as actually borrowing from Mixolydian flat 6, which is a melodic minor sound. So once you learn to do this within your major modes, you do have to look at your harmonic minor and your melodic minor as well. Hey, I'm just sitting here after doing this video and just thinking about a couple of extra things that I just wanted to add in. There's a concept of like the path of least resistance, because you'll notice in that diagram that sometimes the same chord will exist within multiple modes. Generally speaking, it's up to you as the melodic content person, like adding the melody in as to which one you're using. But there is an idea of path of least resistance. For example, if I'm in G major and I use a flat 3 major 7, some people will think straight away like the parallel minor or the Aeolian mode, but that has more note changes in it than borrowing from the Dorian. So my first choice would be the Dorian, unless I really wanted it to sound like the natural minor. So there's a few of these type things. For example, some people think the minor 4 chord is borrowed from the parallel minor, which it can be, but quite often it's not. It's actually borrowed from the melodic minor, and the reasoning being it's the path of least resistance. So if I play a minor 4 chord, not minor 7, just a minor, the least amount of notes to change would be to borrow from the melodic minor. Because then, let's say in the key of G, if I play C minor, I can still keep my B and my A, or B most of all. Whereas if I play minor 7, I'm borrowing from the parallel because I've got the B flat. Anyway, I know that gets confusing. I think modal mixture and modal interchange is a journey, and it takes time. It's not something that happens straight away. It takes experimenting. It takes listening to music and hearing weird chords and going, where did they get that from? And the combination of chords with melody is also really important. It's not just about the chords. Harmony is built up from all the elements that are creating harmony within the song, which includes melody. Anyway, I'm waffling, so I'm going to go. But I just wanted to put that in. That's a pretty big video, and it's a pretty complex topic. There's a high chance I missed something on this because I'm just doing this off the cuff. If you think I did, or you want to try and add some insight to this as well, please do it in the comments and let me know anything that you think you can bring to this conversation as well. So that's basically when I'm analyzing music. That's what I'm thinking. Most of it comes from diatonic harmony. I can hear whether it's a chord in the key. When it's not a chord in the key, there's a few things going through my mind. One is secondary dominant, which I talked about in my last video. The other one is the substitutions for secondary dominant. And then there's this thing, so modal interchange. It's kind of like, are we borrowing a chord for a second from a different mode, parallel mode? And that's it. I hope that helped. Hope it wasn't too confusing. And thank you for sticking around for this video, and thank you for watching these videos. If you enjoyed it, please comment and like, and consider subscribing and sharing these videos with friends. That helps me out. I do have a whole book on this, like a PDF on this, up on my Patreon. So if you want the full PDF, you can grab it from there for like $2, I think. Otherwise, screenshot that diagram that I put in and experiment with some of those and try some different things. So thank you for joining me. Appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.